And a good morning to you all, and welcome to the starting lineup. Great to have you with us on an absolutely beautiful Tuesday, All-Star Tuesday in the Ozarks. Ned Reynolds joined by
Scott Purrier.
And for the next 2 hours, we're right here talking sports and whatever, and like to hear from you. Our number is 417, of course, that's the area code, 447-1021, 447-1021. Either text on that line or call us, whichever you prefer. Starting lineup is brought to you by Play It Again Sports, Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield and Fremont Springfield. Hey, folks, you absolutely can't go wrong. Great athletic deals, uniforms, whatever it is. Golf especially. They're into that now big time. And tennis. Hey, it's all right there at Play It Again Sports, Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield and Fremont Springfield. Swing Right Golf, which is located South Campbell Avenue, just a little bit north of Nixon. You can get your golf swing honed just right at Swing Right Golf. Citizens Bank of Rogersville has two locales, or two routes as they call them. One is adjacent to Highland Springs, and the other is in Rogersville itself. And indeed, the fourth sponsor is Marshfield Chevrolet. At the I-44 exit, you take a couple of left turns there at the light, and you are there at Marshfield Chevrolet. This is All-Star Game coming up tonight. Had the Home Run Derby last night, so it's there's still a little bit going on, even though baseball's in its vacation period.
Very slow period, but you pick and choose your things to talk about because there aren't as many out there. But also a huge soccer match this afternoon, and
yeah, it is.
I've got a question, and I think I know the answer. But why is this a 2:00 afternoon
All-Star game?
Because they're both on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this match then not pushed to? I mean, why don't they have a doubleheader on Wednesday night when there's absolutely nothing going on?
They do have a game. What's Wednesday afternoon is when they have.
No,
the game.
I mean in terms of
the soccer.
Yeah, competing.
I would have to guess. I don't know this, but I would have to guess that maybe the difference in time would give one or two team or one team an advantage over the other. But otherwise, I don't know.
Well,
I would think it'd be a great night for it, unless. Mm-hmm. And that really wouldn't even figure into the mix if ESPN has one of their award shows. But
which nobody, those things are so dead now. It seems
bad.
Like. But first of all, why do France and Spain get an extra day of rest before the World Cup final on Sunday by playing today? To me, it just seems like, and I'm not the commissioner of FIFA, and I don't want to be because I don't understand 90% of it, but why are they not playing the same day? And why isn't it on Wednesday night after the All-Star game, which is the deadest day of sports in the year?
It is.
Why is it not like a 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock doubleheader?
That's a very, very good question. And, Scott, it's one that I thought about. Why are they doing this? I do understand the afternoon games, especially today, but not having them on the same day is a bit of a puzzle. I don't know, unless it's TV.
Yeah, and TV dictates everything. I would think they could have dictated this and said, hey, you know what? This is the biggest night of soccer of the year, these semifinals, because you've got, 4 teams, and you can't argue any of them that are there. And I don't know why it's kind of like, to me, a little bit like the college football playoff semifinals. Those are back to back, and it's one night where you're like, okay, I got 6 hours plus of football coming up. I'm settling in. I got the 6-pack ready to go, or in Ned's case, a 24-pack. And I'm settled in for a night. This is the marquee night of college football with the 2 semifinals, which to me a lot of times is even better than the championship night.
Well, I agree. It certainly is. Let me ask you a quick personal question. The 12-pack and 24-pack, that's beer?
For me now, it's kind of I can't drink a lot. I can't.
I was about to suggest, why don't you go to whiskey? It's better for you.
I like a little rum and Diet Coke, but I've sworn off soft drinks. This is my 3rd week without those, and I'm jittery and nervous, and I'm going to punch anything in sight. No, my wife said I need to try to live longer because of my grandkids, and so I thought, that's a pretty good plan to listen to her on this one. So trying to do some things differently. But no, I just can't. I've always been one that if I have a couple beers, I'm full. Like my stomach,
Well,
it's like leave room for the
shrunk.
cheeseburger.
It has shrunk a little bit, and it probably doesn't digest quite as well. And after all, you're not a kid. Let me give you a little personal thought on that.
Yes.
Yes, you do want to be around, not just for your grandkids, for your great-grandkids.
Yes, yeah. Well, I may wait on those for a while. I hope I wait on those for a while. If my two youngest are listening right now, let's hold off a little bit on that. But no, so anyway, yeah, I don't understand why the World Cup is not tomorrow night and a doubleheader instead of 2 o'clock today and 2 o'clock tomorrow, because today is in Arlington at AT&T Stadium, or Dallas Stadium as we're calling it for FIFA. I know that the countries, their fans, they don't care if it's 2 o'clock or midnight or whenever, they're going to be there. But the casual soccer fan in that area is probably having to take off from work today. Now, in the summer, it seems like everybody's off for the most part and stuff, but I don't understand it.
Well, and the same with tomorrow's game in Atlanta. Same time. It's 2 o'clock Central Time. And again, I am with you. I do not understand why it's not both on the same day. It would seem to be logical that you would do that, but I know there's got to be a plausible reason, and maybe it has something to do with international television.
Well, that and you can't tell me there's not an advantage for the two teams, the survivor today, having an extra day of rest, an extra day of preparation. They get to play today, then they get to watch tomorrow's match and study that live, let their bodies heal, probably train a little bit, and then get ready for Sunday. Where is Sunday? Sunday's in East Rutherford, isn't it?
In Giant Stadium?
Yes.
Or MetLife, yes.
The final. Why in that dump?
Well, New York.
Yeah, but I mean, all the places you could have played the World Cup final, that's a dump, isn't it?
Well, no, not really. It's fairly new. It's not the original Giant Stadium. They tore it down. Same place, but this is MetLife, and it seats about 85,000, somewhere around there. But it's the New York City area, and that's what they wanted. And to my knowledge, the biggest arena there.
Is that a big soccer area, the Northeast?
It's where Pelé met when he came up here with Brazil. Mm-hmm. Of course, I think that was the old Giant Stadium, but the same place. Is it a big soccer area? Well, it's such an international city, so yes, I guess it would be from that aspect of things.
And I'm going to ask a usual dumb Purrier question, but because I don't know this answer, but what is the soccer hotspot in the U.S.?
Well,
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
That's very big there in St. Louis, very big. I would have to think New York City because of the homogenous numbers of nationalities they have there. But other than that, I don't know.
Are there just pockets, we think, across the country? Because, baseball, you say, well, the South, because it's warmer, they play year-round, and you look at what the SEC does in baseball. Basketball, it's pretty much the Midwest and everywhere else around now. Football, Texas, California, Florida.
It is, but it's also universal.
Yeah, it is. But, if you just look where the talent comes from in recruiting. It's Texas, it's Florida, and California are the three that, and then, Louisiana and South, and stuff. But soccer, I don't know where that is.
Well, and most of the soccer is international, in all honesty. It's understandable. It hasn't really... It is blossoming in this country, but it's taking some time. When I first came here 60 years ago, hey, this is the fastest growing sport. It still is.
Yeah, that's what they still say. Yeah. Well, and maybe it's an indictment of why we're not as good as we should be, because we can't name what those spots.
But I did hear, and I was listening to VEASAN, it was yesterday, an interesting conclusion that I hadn't thought of. When the USA got knocked out of it by a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth, and we didn't play very well, and we don't belong with the big boys and all that sort of thing, that's probably all true. But you know what it was? Discussion. Never before has there been any discussion about, hey, they're out of there, so let's go on with the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So I think maybe there is some level of
growing a little bit, and then I heard the discussion that, LeBron James and super athletes like that, if they were playing soccer, we'd be a power just like the other countries, because our best athletes, if they played soccer, would make us at that level. And that's a good, valid argument.
Scott, if that were the only sport in this country, we would be an international colossus.
Yeah.
It is the only sport. worth mentioning in a lot of these countries who are playing. They don't have the pro basketball and pro baseball and hockey, and they do have hockey a little bit in some of the northern countries, but by the same token, it does not have the same overall appeal to the public that it would if it were the only sport.
Now, Wemby's from France, right?
Wembanyama?
Yeah.
Playing for France.
I'd put him in the goal. If I'm France today, put Wemby in goal and just say, okay, hit it past the 7'6" guy's arms and legs and everything else that's out there.
Do you know who did play goal?
Who?
Hakeem Abdul-Olajuwon.
Yeah.
He talked about playing soccer when he came up here and played in the NBA, and when he played in college, for that matter. What did you play in soccer? Goalie.
Yeah,
absolutely. Huge
7 foot, hard to get by those arms and legs and athleticism too. So, anyway, France and Spain today, 2:00. It's on Fox. Should be fun to watch, even for the non-soccer fans. Most people think this may be the title match today. That's kind of discounting Argentina, the defending champion, and Messi, and then England with Harry Kane, which ought to be a brilliant matchup tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, so our lineup today, it is the silly season during summer where we look for different subjects to talk about because we can. We've got some of those lined up this week. Starting today at 7:30, we've got Brandon Hite of Hite Media. And you're like, who? What? Well, every time you flip on an ESPN Plus game or a streaming game or most broadcasts of any type over from Missouri State, it's Brandon Hite and his crew that are running the show.
And
there.
They are award winners.
They are. And so, I've got a son that's spent 3 years working for Razorback Sports Network down at Arkansas. They do that down there. I've kind of got intrigued by how it all works, just the different roles. And so I kind of wanted Brandon to come on and talk about, their operation, how many people are involved, what goes into a game day and things like that. So I think it ought to be pretty interesting at 7:30. 8:00, we promised we'd bring our friend of the program, Michelle Boswell. My mom calls it Soccer, the podcast that has just blown up nationwide during the World Cup here. She's going to come on. She's been a volunteer at she's either been a fan or a volunteer at every match in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium. And we wanted Michelle to come on one final time and talk about some of the great stories. She's been great talking about the international fans and their presence in Kansas City and dealing with the athletes.
Yeah, last time we had her on, she made a very interesting statement that I thought a little bit about. Some of the international media were asking directions as far as to go. They could converse in English, but did they understand what the meaning was? And she thought about that. She thought, can they read? Do they understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I thought that's a very bright statement.
I'm just impressed that you remember any of that because you were just fixated on her mom the entire time they were in the studio. So congratulations to you.
Her
Nick.
mom is very attractive.
Yeah. So here we go.
It's a politically it's a comment.
If I had a drop button for kind of the seductive music, I would hit that right now and play that. But anyway. And then 8:30, T-Bear, Trenton Berry on in his usual spot, talking auto racing. Trenton Berry of Racing Dirt, the website. They do a tremendous job with their stream casts throughout the year of their races. We had Dillon McCowan on yesterday, the kid that won Friday and Saturday night at Lucas Oil, and a big thank you to my friend Lyndall Scranton for tipping us off to, hey, this would be a great story. I was kind of playing around on social media yesterday. That was a big deal to the entire Lucas Oil community that Dillon won those two races.
How can you register that? Because
I was watching a video of the track interview that they had right after the win Saturday night, and it was very well done. And the announcer, every time they would mention Dillon, and he was so emotional. It was just so cool to see a 22-year-old kid so caught up in the victory. But the crowd, when the announcer said, hey, Lucas Oil Stadium, let's hear it for Dillon, the place just roared, and they were on their feet. And I thought, what a cool moment that had to be live up there to see one of their locals win Friday and Saturday night.
I'm going to enhance upon that just a bit. Our interview with him yesterday, this kid's 22. Mm-hmm. Now, how many 22-year-olders and maybe even older have we had on that who could not conduct themselves as well as he did?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's very, very good.
And, if you weren't listening and you just caught in late and you didn't hear us introduce him, you would say, that guy's got to be a race car driver. He just sounds like it. He sounds like a guy that's baling hay all day, working on his car, and going to go out and kick your butt on the track at night. But anyway, that was fun. So T-Bear's going to talk about that. And you know what? Before we get into the home run derby, which was just magical last night, and I was glued to it, let's take a break and come back and talk about that on the other side.
And you're listening to the starting lineup, and we'll be back in a second. Great having you with us on the starting lineup on this Tuesday. Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Purrier.
Okay, fire away. We're continuing with
just a fun night to watch. And I know Ned, it was a Netflix thing. Ned didn't have Netflix, so I'm going to talk mostly about it and get his thoughts on it. But Jordan Walker wins the home run derby last night. First Cardinal ever to win the home run derby. I think Pujols had finished second back in like 2003.
He did finish second, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But just a phenomenal TV sight last night because Kyle Schwarber, with the All-Star game in Philadelphia, obviously the home run derby there as well, huge favorite, fan favorite. Bryce Harper got eliminated first round, so it left him with Schwarber. And what's that hold there, the stadium? 43,000. Mm-hmm. And they were true to form Philadelphia fans. They booed every home run by the guy who was facing Schwarber, and they cheered every out or ball that didn't get out of the park by whoever was playing against Schwarber. And that happened. Wilson Contreras faced Schwarber in the semis, and it was almost laughable because he would pop out and the place would erupt. And he did a home run, and you'd either hear silence or some boos. And then everything Schwarber did it was like they just won the World Series.
Okay, Scott, let me enhance upon that. Yeah. No, I did not see it. I don't have Netflix. And the whole episode doesn't really interest me that much. It's an exhibition, and okay, that's it. But I did read from a certain periodical that is ultra-liberal in their thinking. The sports writers, instead of writing what a great job this was by Jordan Walker, and they did mention that, he shut up those noisy fans. He stopped them cold. Jordan Walker said, hey, they're the fans. They're rooting for their home team. Of course, that's the way it needs to be, which kind of blunted a little bit about what the reporting was. But that was their context, which is so wrong, in my opinion. My goodness.
I think, and Schwarber said afterward, it almost overhyped him up early on because there was so much adrenaline going through that he was trying to hit it 600 feet every time for the fans, and it got him out of sync. Jordan Walker, I think it motivated him because here's 43,000 people that don't want to see it. Actually, your mom and your dad and your grandma are the only ones there, along with Riley O'Brien and Ivan Herrera, your only two teammates there. They're the only people in the place probably that wanted to see Jordan Walker win. And the thing that, and I saw that Dave Davis commented on this on social media, one of the announcers made reference to he looks like a young George Hendrick up there. Very, very unfazed by the surrounding, just very stoic look. And that was Jordan Walker through the whole thing. I mean, he was just kind of like, hey.
He may have looked like him, but he doesn't have George Hendrick. George Hendrick had an attitude about him, and he didn't like the media at all. And I can understand some of that.
Sure. He didn't have that part of it, but it just looked like he was just not bothered at all by the fact that 43,000 people were against him. He took his time, he took deep breaths, and he just put on the smoothest swing. It's like watching a golfer that hits it down the middle every time versus a golfer that tries to hit it 500 yards off the tee. And that's what you had with Schwarber versus Jordan Walker. Jordan Walker just put a sweet, smooth swing on it, and the ball would naturally fly out of the park.
And to his credit, Schwarber said, I'm playing this kid, and he's hitting lasers. I'm hitting high, floating drives and for a distance, and he's hitting laser shots, and he wins the thing, which I thought was a great compliment to him.
It was, and also when Jordan Walker would hit it high, that's an out. Wait a minute, that's 440 feet. Yeah. It just kept going, and so, but what made it so special is you get to the finals, and of course Jack Caglione was in it with the Royals. He got off to a very slow start, then got hot kind of to the middle, late part of it. Hit 4 or 5 in a row out that were just absolute moonshots, but he got knocked out in the first round as well. So it comes down to Walker and Schwarber in the final. Schwarber goes first. He puts up 11 home runs, and I love the format now. It's 20 swings in the first round, 15 swings in the semis and finals. And if you hit a home run on your final swing, you have one swing left and you hit a home run, you get to keep going. So it's very important that your last swing is a home run because then you get bonus swings until you don't hit a home run. Well, Schwarber goes out and hits 11 of them, and Philadelphia is going nuts. The stadium's rocking. Jordan Walker's got to go last. I'm sitting there thinking, there's no way he wins this. He comes out and he gets off to a mediocre start. Then he kind of starts getting into a groove, and he has home runs on his last 6 swings to win it.
Last 6.
Yeah, it was a walk-off because, I think he had, what would that be? He had 7. He had 6 home runs down to his final 2 or 3 swings. And then he put on that swing, and it just started going and going and going, and he wins it, and he walks it off, and Philadelphia's stunned, and Jordan Walker, the amazing thing to me is he made more last night with first place in that, with $1 million, than he'll make all season in his salary.
That's exactly right, he does.
Yeah, he makes just under $800,000, $799 for the year. He won $1 million last night, but the coolest part, I thought Netflix did a good job with the post game, because they had a set down the right field line with Barry Bonds and Albert Pujols, and then L. Duncan was kind of the host or mediator. Well, Walker came down and sat between those 2 legends, and then his parents came over and his grandma came over. And I just thought it was really cool. Here's a kid that went from, gosh, is he ever going to be even good after what we've seen the struggles the last 2 years, to really on top of the world for last night, and really – last night was stamping him as a national name.
And how was his attitude in the interviews?
Perfect. I mean, and I said this on Twitter, that I don't know you could find an athlete in any sport right now that's more worth your young kids emulating than Jordan Walker.
Thank you. You just said the right word.
Humble, appreciative, what else? Professional, everything he does. It's just
not overly demonstrative.
No, not at all. And it was just, he answered everything matter-of-factly. It wasn't cocky. It was just, hey, I was here to do a job. I did my job. And he's sitting there between those 2 guys. And Barry Bonds, whose head's a lot smaller now than I remember it being about 25 years ago, ironically. Barry Bonds says, I'm a fan. I'm going to be following you now for the rest of your career just because of the way he carries himself.
Glad to hear you say that, too, because the kid, we knew him down here, but he never said very much. But when he did say something, it was profound. And I didn't see any of the Netflix interview or anything like that, but I did hear him interviewed when he got selected to the All-Star game. And the interview, the presentation was made by Ale Marmol, and then Walker, got up and spoke. It was absolutely the most understandable and gratifying statement you could make. And he was in tears. He said, I never expected this to happen. Now, he's not a starter, but still, he's in the All-Star game after having such a rocky start to his career with the Cardinals. I think he's an outstanding superstar in the making right here in front of us.
He's 24 going on 54, just the way he carries himself. And, I've got a 22-year-old son. I just hope his underwear is facing the right direction in the morning when he gets up. I'm joking if you're listening. But here's a kid that just is mature beyond his years, and it shows in his play.
Oh, keep in mind where he was going to go, where he had committed, and it's Duke. And not everybody gets into Duke, folks, let me tell you.
And aren't both parents MIT or?
They're both professors.
Professors, yeah. Raised right, behaves right, doesn't bat flip 60 feet down the line or glare into the opposing dugout. He just does his job, and I just think he's somebody that Cardinal fans are lucky that Mo didn't completely screw him up the way he handled him.
I want to say, too, I may be wrong, I think he's an only child.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah. And so it's going to be our treat. First of all, pay him, pay him the money that he deserves.
They will.
And break open the coffers a little bit for this kid, because that's a kid just like Bobby Witt Jr. over in Kansas City that Cardinal fans want to watch for the next 15 years in their uniform, just like they got to do with Albert Pujols. And so, anyway, great night there, and that leads into the All-Star game tonight. Lots of ties there. Drake Baldwin, the former Bear, will be the starting catcher for the National League. The starting pitchers tonight are Christopher Sanchez of the Phillies and Dylan Cease of the Blue Jays. You've got 3 Cardinals there, all coming off the bench. Walker, Ivan Herrera, and Riley O'Brien. The last 2 were injury replacements, but get to go. Michael Wacha and Bobby Witt Jr. for the Royals. Bobby Witt will start for the AL. So, as we talked yesterday, the spectacle is we love the introduction to the players and the reactions there. I'm going to guess that they might boo Jordan Walker tonight when he's announced as a player.
Maybe and maybe not.
It's Philadelphia. They booed Santa Claus, didn't they? They throw batteries at players.
I was there that they booed Santa Claus. It's all done in jest. It's not hate or anything along those lines. Philadelphia fans, and I was one of them, still am to some extent, are passionate about their team. Is it any more so than any other group? Maybe because they've had such losing years. It is good for them, both the Eagles, Phillies, 76ers, and the hockey team, the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah.
It generates a level of understanding that it's great to be a winner when you haven't been for so long. And that's why they're so passionate about their ball club. They don't dislike other teams. They boo.
I think they do.
It's the booing is part of their lexicon. But the fact is that they are very passionate and very supportive.
So you think they like the Cowboys and the Giants when they come in?
I can promise you they do not.
They do not. Let's take a time out. Our guest is waiting. We'll talk to Brandon Hite of Hite Media and all those great Missouri State broadcasts coming up on the other side.
This is the starting lineup. Be right back. And we are delighted that you're with us on the starting lineup this morning. Brought to you by Play It Again Sports, by Swing Right Golf, by Marshfield Chevrolet, and by Citizens Bank of Rogersville. I'm Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Purrier.
And a special guest.
Yeah, on the line with us is Brandon Hite of Hite Media. His crew is responsible basically for anything you watch Missouri State athletics-wise on ESPN Plus, any streaming product, local telecasts. It's Brandon Hite and his crew that are behind the scenes. And I thought, like I said earlier, I've got a son down at Arkansas that's done this with the Razorback Sports Network for 3 years, so I'm intrigued by the whole behind-the-scenes operation. And it's summer. What a great time to talk to Brandon Hite about what goes on over there with his team. Brandon, good morning and welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
You guys are kind of like the the powerful Oz behind the curtain, pretty much. We just flip on the TV at 1 o'clock on a Saturday and expect Bears baseball or basketball to be on there and everything goes smooth. But you guys are pushing all the buttons behind the scenes to make sure it goes smooth, and you've been doing that for a long time.
It is kind of like a controlled chaos. You are correct, and as Ned knows, every show is a slight miracle to get on the air and to get off the air with little or no hiccups or issues. And if you do, you just try to cover them up, or if you can't, you just go on because it's live TV. But no, it takes a village. There's a lot of things that goes on behind the scene. There's a ton of prep. A lot of people and just a lot that goes on that people never really realize. It's funny because a lot of times we have to use freelancers and folks that have never really been around production back when we were, and still are trying to use a lot of students. We'll kind of tell people what their assignments are for cameras and things like that. We always start a lot of our guys out at camera work, and I'll have some of those students come up to me later and they said, I really enjoyed working with you, but ever since I've watched a football game since, it's really kind of messed me up because now I know what these people are doing, on these broadcasts, and now it's changed the way I'm watching games now. I'm not just watching them just for the game. Now I'm looking at all these technical aspects, and it's really kind of changed my way of thinking. And they're right. So.
That's interesting you mentioned that, Brandon, because the same thing happens with the broadcasters. Once you go in and do it, and wait a minute, I didn't know this happened. I didn't hear that guy hollering through the headset or anything like that.
Right.
It is a different circumstance, but I'll tell you what impresses me, and that is the way you guys operate from a relatively speaking, and I don't want to say small because it isn't, but it's a very compact unit that you use. We at KY3 use the big truck, as you probably remember, but this is very compact, and everything is in there and runs so smoothly. It's really well done.
It is funny because we do have a few national shows that come through Missouri State, CBS, Fox, whatever. And they usually bring an army of people, and it's 20 to 30 to 40 people, and that's on site. That's not including, your studio support, your network support, transmission, master control, all that stuff. We've got for football, we have, if I count up everybody that's involved with our crew, we probably have maybe 17 people at the most, 17 people. And that's everything. That's transmission, that's production, that's cameras, that's including talent. That's everything, replay, graphics. That's it. Everybody wears 3 or 4 hats just to make it on air. And, we do our best, try to.
I remember, I think it was we were looking at Arkansas and before he went down there and kind of got a behind the scenes tour from their Razorback Sports Network people. And it was an ESPN 2 game, on the big network there, or one of their big networks. It may have been an ESPN. And they flew in producers and directors, like 2 or 3 of them. And it was just an entirely different vibe. I remember in the pregame, they were doing a run through, and one of the kids that was running audio, I think, daydreamed for a second, and that ESPN guy snapped at him like, "Hey, don't let me interrupt your free time here if you could. Can we make sure we get audio on?" With you guys, is it all internal and you guys are the crew, or if you guys are on a network game, do they send people in, or is it just Hite Media and you guys got the show?
Usually if it's a network game like a 2 or a U or something like that, or CBS, they will bring in their own crew. However, a lot of the camera operators are our guys.
Okay.
They will freelance and work with them. But producers and directors, that's their scene. So, yeah.
One of my very first ever interns at KY3 was Steve Wynn, and he was with you guys for many years and talked so very highly about the operation. You remember him, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was just in the truck during baseball. I think his son there was a fraternity get-together at Missouri State, and he came back for that. And his son still goes to Missouri State. And his son works with us, Jay Wynn. So, yep.
How about small world?
Yeah, absolutely. Carrying on the tradition there. So, Brandon, tell us how this all started for you. I know you're a 95 Missouri State grad, SMS at the time. Decided to stick around and go this media route. You actually worked for the university in some capacities back when you were a student. Kind of take us back to those days.
Well, I tell you what, I moved from Kansas to here in 91 after I graduated high school. And I was working as an AV guy at Hammond Student Center. So that's actually where I got to meet Ned Reynolds for the first time. So I didn't know who he was, but
nor could you
I quickly found out. Well, anyway, so of course when ESPN would come, to that crazy rockin', building over there, I was in awe. I was just a little farm kid from South Central Kansas. I didn't know what was going on, but anyway, I knew I liked it. That was fun. But I got to be behind the scenes. I got to watch the big trucks come in and wire up all those cameras and watch all that chaos. And it was mesmerizing to me. I didn't know what they were doing because I really wasn't into video at the time. But yeah, I did all the concerts over there. There was a lot of people, and I met a lot of guys and had a lot of fun. But that's kind of probably where I started my entertainment adventure. I guess, so to speak, over there. But so I graduated high school, went to work for a local systems integration company, which we did video and lighting and audio systems for churches and schools and concerts and all over the country. And then Hammond's Field was built, and we were chosen to put in the sound system and the video system over there at the time. So we installed the video board, and a guy by the name of Lance Kettering called me up because at the time I was working with Lance as a student at Missouri State. We knew each other, and he was working at the time at the marketing group. Missouri State had its own marketing group at the time. I think it was Brent Dunn, Sophie Pierpont, Lance Kettering, and Stuart Davis. They were kind of heading that up. They did all the little promos at the games, all that stuff. Well, they had this new video board at Hammond's Field, and he said, Brandon, I know you installed this, but is there a way we could put up some, I don't know, player pages or something to show who's at bat? And I was like, well, I can probably do something like that, Photoshop or something, So I did, and the first year we only had graphics. There was no video at Hammond's Field. There was no replay, no cameras, no nothing. All we had was just graphics. So that's what we did for the first year. Well, the second year, that's when the Cardinals came, right? So then the Cardinals are the ones that actually bought the video system. So So when we did that, we installed that video system, and then we had video capabilities and replay capabilities. And then Lance said, hey, I know that you helped us with some player pages. Is there any way that you could help us run these cameras and figure out how to run this replay system and all that stuff? Yeah, we can try to do that. Well, we did that for a year or two, and then I decided I kind of like this. This is kind of fun. Let's create a company, So then that's when Hite Media was created, probably back in 2004, 2005. And then one thing led to another. Lance said, hey, can we make a video intro or something like that? So I bought a camera, and I took a bunch of little videos of players and put it all together. Art Haynes came up with a little video montage voiceover. We did that. We played that before all the games. And then year after year, I kept purchasing cameras. And then we started doing TV shows locally around there was a place called, a show called The Mystery Hour. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
did that for 9 years, 9 seasons with some of our cameras and stuff like that. But anyway, that's how it all started. It was Lance Kettering asking me if I could put up player pages on the video board at Hammons Field.
How big of a game changer, and I'm going to say the S word that Ned hates, but how big of a game changer was streaming for you guys and your business? I mean, would you still be doing, you think, what you're doing now if we didn't have the ESPN Plus and all the different, it certainly wouldn't have kept you as busy without streaming, right?
Well, let's see. Comparison, yeah, I'm not it makes it easier to get on the air. If you'd call it the air, it's not really the air anymore, it's internet. Yeah. So, but as a comparison, I remember, back in the day when KRI3 had the contract to do, I don't know, X amount of games, like 10 or 12 games across, whatever the region here, plus some coaches shows and things like that. Their budget was about what our budget is now to do those games. And now we're doing a little bit more than 95 games.
Wow.
Per season. So it's changed because it's easier to get on the air. You don't have to purchase satellite time anymore, which was expensive back in the day. And you don't have to travel like KY had to do. And so it's easier. However, there's one thing that it did kind of show everybody. Everybody was used to YouTube and filming with your phones and everything. So the quality went way, way down compared to what everybody was used to. Everybody was used to, fully produced, pristine shots, right? As good as it could be for standard def, right? Well, when everything switched over to streaming, everybody could stream. So if you had a point and shoot camera and could get on the network and you could see your grandkid on TV, you were happy with it. So you weren't as really concerned about the quality when all this first started. So everybody was just happy to see moving pictures. Well, we always tried to keep the standard up to a certain level, of course. But, that's one thing I think some of the old dog freelancers would say is like, hey, this streaming stuff, this is nothing, compared to what real TV is. And, somewhat they were correct. But the bar got dropped so low that everybody's expectations went down with it. So I don't know. Yeah, it's easier. I mean, we can do way more with it with streaming. It's easier. But I do think that the quality is now coming back up. You've got in fact, we have weekly meetings with our conference and weekly meetings with ESPN where they've got certain standards and they want us to do a certain thing. So yeah, the bar is slowly coming back up. And I think everybody's kind of noticed that as well.
I appreciate, Brandon, you're mentioning the expense factor there as well, because traveling with the entire crew and moving the truck up to Des Moines, Iowa, and places like that was not an inexpensive proposition. Let me ask you very quickly, you talk about the conference and so forth. Is it the conference that hires you to do all this production? Are they the chief backing for it?
So at the top of the mountain is the network, which is ESPN. ESPN contracts with the conference, and then the conference kind of directs the schools to hire, or the way this kind of works is Missouri State is ultimately the one who pays us. Now, there are rights fees that Missouri State gets paid from the conference, who also gets paid from ESPN.
This also presents you have no control over this at all, but it's a question the attendance has gone down. There isn't any doubt about that. All you have to do is go to a game and see that the crowds are nowhere near what they were. I contend that TV has something to do with that. I understand there's a mandate that the games are on television, but I don't think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that there's a mandate against the local cities being blacked out. Can that happen?
I've never been a part of anything that has ever been blacked out. You're correct.
Could you mechanically or electronically do that though?
They can do what they call blackout via IP address. So I mean, it is possible. Yeah, it is possible, because I know that for like Cardinals games, sometimes Cardinals games you can't stream it locally if it's on TV. Here. So
what is the relationship between your company and Learfield and Missouri State? How does that all come together? What is Learfield's role working with you?
So let's back the story up a little bit. I alluded to it earlier. Back when we first started we also do the video board for Missouri State. Okay. Both him at the Great Southern Bank and
Plaster.
Plaster, yes. And then, of course, we used to do baseball too. So back when it started, Missouri State had its own marketing firm. It was Missouri State Sports Properties. It might not even been that called. It was just Missouri State Marketing, I think it was back in the time. And they did a great job. Well, Nelligan came and bought them out, or came in, didn't buy them out. They just came in with great expectations. And whether it was successful or not, I don't know. And then Learfield came along. And Learfield's been here, ever since, and now they've, got a pretty large stake in it. And now Missouri State's starting to kind of dig back to what in my opinion, the way it used to be back when we first started. They've got a lot more marketing people. In fact, I think they just made another hire for vice president of marketing, I think. So that's kind of going back to the way it used to be, which I think that's a really good thing. I think that keeps Missouri State in the game a little bit better. But no, as far as we work with them a lot, because they send us graphics to put on the board. We get their logs for what's happening in the promo sections of all the games. So yeah, quite a bit. We work with them quite a bit.
Two-part question. I know we're getting short on time here, but wanted to ask you, number one, what's the hardest sport for you guys to do in terms of pulling it off with all the camera angles and everything else? And tell us a couple horror stories that maybe we didn't see on the front end, but you said it's controlled chaos every game. What are some of the things that can go wrong and you guys have been able to put out the fire?
Well, first of all and foremost, I love football. I love it. I'm passionate about football, but it is the hardest to produce. And I think it's because it's the vast amount of space you got to cover. Now, last year, it made it a whole lot easier because there's a whole lot of infrastructure that got put in for new official replay and all that. But with that, at football, at Plaster, we had a lot of fiber that was installed. We had a lot of camera angles that were installed for us. So now we can just park the truck in the parking lot and plug in and go set up a camera. It's a lot easier. Now we still have to have a golf cart to go anywhere we want at Plaster because it just takes forever to get there. I mean, we're there 6 hours before the game, before people even show up, start setting up for work, And that's not including the work we did on the set day, the prior, day. And so anyway, yeah, football is the hardest, absolutely the hardest. I love it. Now, horror stories. Ned Reynolds is involved with this one. So I tell you what, first of all, I'm going to back this up even further. I tell you what, we've worked with a lot of talent. Our local guys, Mike McClure, Don West, Corey Riggs, Tom Ladd, and we've also worked with some of the national guys, Scott Warman, Tom Ackerman, John Rooney, Laura Leonard, Connor Onion, all these guys, Mitch Holtis. We've all had those talent. But I tell you what, Ned Reynolds, one time we were doing basketball. I don't know if he remembers this or not. And his analyst was Kelby Stuckey. But we're getting ready to do our pregame on air. We always record all of our opens. And Kelby was nowhere to be found. And Ned's by himself down there. Ned hates doing the lineups. He doesn't like pronouncing the names. I get it, but he was going to have to do it on the open here. No Kelby. So we get Casey Hunt, which was the assistant athletics director. She comes over and helps Ned do the open. Anyway, we get through the open. Well, here comes Kelby. He came down the ramp in the back, and he has this fancy old 1968 Pontiac Bonneville. Comes down there, and he opens the door. There's like Frito bags coming out of the car. Anyway, here comes Kelby, and I tell you what, he sits down. We've got it all on camera. We probably have video of it somewhere. Kelby, and then Ned looks at him, and he's giving him the business. Anyway, we finally got on the air, barely, but yeah, that was one of those horror stories. You just never know what's going to happen. It's live TV. So.
That's the key. It is live television. Where do we stand on time?
We're closer, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we could do this for an entire hour, and tell the stories. But you guys do just a tremendous job, and all the things that we take for granted because you're on and great camera angles. There's somebody behind that. But before we let you go, are there some people that have been with you a long time that you want to mention or kind of shout out on your crew?
Yeah, I tell you what, kind of my partner in crime, Kelly Magruder. Ned knows her.
Oh, sure, sweetheart.
She's been with me since her husband is who hired me at Missouri State when I got out of high school. So I started working with Dick Magruder as an AV guy, and he's an electronics guy. Just that's where I went to school, was electronics. So he kind of got me in the entertainment business, and it's really, I kind of owe it all to her because she's the one that got me the job. And then I kind of hired her on, and she does all my crewing. She does all the graphics. All the graphics that you see on TV is Kelly Magruder. She worked with the Cardinals for a long time. She does a lot of regional shows. She even works with ESPN and does all that fun stuff. So yeah, Kelly has been with me forever. So.
Anybody else that's a multi-year veteran for you? Or?
Well, we use a lot of freelancers, a lot of the camera guys, and some of the other outlets, and stations across the area. It's kind of like a potpourri of people, and we all try to. It's a dance. When everybody else has a show on, we can steal them from them, and use them. So no, there's a lot of people, and it's hard to list one, but there's a lot.
You guys do a great job. You really do.
Brandon, we appreciate your time. This is fascinating stuff. Let's do it again, okay?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thank you. You bet.
Brandon Hite Media visiting with us. Time out on the starting lineup. I'll be right back. Let's preview a little bit what we have coming up in the next segment.
Yeah, here in about 5 minutes, Michelle Boswell with My Mom Calls It Soccer, the great podcast that has exploded here during the World Cup. She's going to join us at 8 to talk about her final thoughts and memories from being a volunteer at World Cup Kansas City and going as a fan as well. And then 8:30, Trenton Berry, T-Bear with RacingDirt.com, going to join us. We'll talk about the big weekend wins for Dillon McCowan up at Lucas Oil, talk about the NASCAR Cup Series down Atlanta. This week, I think they're in Carolina, aren't they? We talked about that.
They are at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah. So we'll talk to T-Bear about all that and more. And thanks to Brandon Hite, we could have had him on for another segment.
And we will, because that's fascinating. Folks, you may not appreciate it as much, but when you see these games on TV, and either streamed or over-the-air TV, whatever, there's a hell of a lot that goes into this.
Well, and he told us after the interview off air that, a lot of people wonder, why can't we have baseball, softball, and basketball all on the same day? Because the amount of crew and equipment they have to use just for one telecast makes that impossible.
It does. And the finances, you've got to understand, that's all involved. We will take our mid-show timeout here on the starting lineup. Brief break. Big second segment coming up. Please stay right where you are.